So this is my kid here, right here. He's playing that. He's playing that. When I was that young, I didn't have all these things. Hi there. It is Saturday morning, and I'm not sure if you can hear me. I have my youngest one playing PlayStation right now behind me in the living room. His first exposure to a console game, I would say. So he's enjoying himself on that. It's one of those old classic game, Dynasty Warriors, which I enjoy a lot. And this is Dynasty Warrior 8, I believe. And I've played that for the longest time. And it's one of those things that, believe it or not, we used to play, me and my wife used to play this. So we'll sit down, before we had kids, we'll sit down and play. I think Dynasty Warrior 3, 4, something like that. So along the years, all different version comes out, and then we start playing it. So this morning, I'm sitting down with a cup in front of me, drinking a drink, and it's called Milo, Milo. I'm not sure if you know what that is. If you do, give it a shout out. This is a drink that I grew up on. So what is it? It's basically a chocolate drink, like a hot chocolate almost. It's hard to explain it. It is pretty popular in Asia when I was growing up. I remember drinking this early in the morning, and then this is my go-to drink in the morning and before I go to bed. It's real simple. It's kind of pretty much hot chocolate in it, right? It's a habit that is hard to break, and I just basically, I just enjoy drinking it. So it's one thing about me. Milo is one of my things that I like to drink. If I can't get Milo in the morning, I'll do decaf coffee. Yes, some people say it's a waste of time drinking decaf coffee, but it's a warm drink. So that's a habit that I have. Some of the habits that we have, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So reflecting this week, the years, looking back, before being exposed to the agile mindset, before being exposed to a good leadership, I would say. And back then, I managed software developers, software engineers, QA, and a bunch of that. Right, as the director of software engineering, we're responsible for ensuring that we produce work. So, what measurement do you use to say that your developers or engineers are working? So one of the things that we used to do was that we used to measure the number of hours that developers spent on the keyboard. So you walk in the early morning, it's kind of like in a factory, right? Early morning, almost like a factory setting. Early morning, you come in, you walk the floor. As managers, directors, you walk the floor. You walk the floor, at 10 o'clock, you walk the floor at 11 o'clock, maybe, certain time. And what you're looking for is actually looking to see if people are actually working. 4 o'clock, well, you check your time, who's leaving, or are people there working? But is that a good measure of output? And looking back now, in reality, it's not. And if you are doing that today, I would challenge you and ask you, what value are you getting from doing that? Are we measuring the number of hours they put in? Are we measuring the work that comes out from it? So what outcome are we looking for? So for example, I struggle back then is that I had developers that I would say has really good work ethics. Again, what we call good work ethics is this person working 10 hours a day. He's there at 7 o'clock in the morning. He leaves at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night. He's working hard. And then we have another guy that basically works, 8 hours. Comes in exactly at 8 o'clock, leaves exactly at 5 o'clock. And then there's a guy, another person, another person that comes in at 8, goof off a little bit here and there, and leaves at 4:30. Which one of those three examples is producing the most amount of work? Now we would imagine that the person that put in the most hours will produce the most work, right? The most work. But that's not the case. What we find is that oftentimes the person working hard could be that they're not really that focused. Even though they put in those hours, they may produce less work, or the quality of the work isn't as good. So that's one of the challenges that we see is there's different type of output. Do you measure the number of hours in terms, and you consider as productivity? And then do you say, well, let's measure the quality of work? Okay, let's ignore the number of hours and say, cool, we understand it. The number of hours doesn't mean anything. And what if you do, well, let's check his work. Let's measure the bugs that get produced from his code. The less bug, the better it is. Now, what sounds like a great idea, and it is still very clear that I see it, and I still see the behavior in the existing today. I still see those behavior today in project managers, in product managers that manages the team, that try to manage the team, that try to control the team, that try to especially working with outsourced vendors. And if you are a product manager, you have a team, you're worried about the work that comes out to you, and that's fair. That's fair that you worry about those things. But measuring the number of bugs that comes from it doesn't really make sense, because the amount of work needed to put in to measure those. And I would challenge that, are there value in it? What outcome do you want from? What is the intention from measuring the number of bugs? So more bugs that this person create means that this person is a bad developer. But sometimes it's also depending on the complexity of the code, right? And you say, oh yeah, sure, the less complex, if more bugs, and that's not good. As a product manager, how do you know? You don't write code, right? Okay, some of you say, okay, well, I do write code, like me, I'm coming from software engineering background. I understand it. I can look at code. Oh, you read this incorrectly. Your if-else statement, you're missing an else here. You didn't catch this. Your parameters is wrong. You're passing the wrong variable. Should you be doing that? Should you be worried about that? So oftentimes, when we measure those number of bugs, when do you see it? At the end of the project, or when it gets to the hands of a client, then you measure it. Does it change? Does measuring the number of bugs change the behavior or improve the skill set of the developer? I believe the answer is no. Now, for those of you that manages external sources, I would say you're working with an outside partner, it's easy. Oh, we don't like this developer. Now, this is something that I used to do too. I don't like this developer, partner A, please give me a new resource. This developer is not working out. Give me a new resource. And what does that do? it doesn't change the fact. Now you got a new developer come in, they gotta learn the platform, they gotta learn, how code is written. All this learning has to be done all over again. So that to my mind doesn't really solve the problem. It doesn't help get better quality code. In my mind, you're playing with luck, right? So you're just replacing one person with the next person, hoping that you find the right person that can do the right code. So that difference in thinking is something that I've learned over time, that's not what we go after. If you want to improve the quality of the work, you improve the skill set of your developer. And how do you do that? Who knows better than a developer? Who knows better to help that person improve other than another developer that is more skilled, that is more senior, right? Not you, not the product manager, not the director, right? Now, as a director of software engineering, I knew the code. I can write the code if I want to. But I'm far away from it. My skill set isn't as good. How can I train this person to be better than me? It's a mindset. We want them to learn. We want them to improve. We want to teach them how to go fish. Right? So ideally, we want to enable the developer, to teach the developer, to coach the developer into being better at what they do. When a bug comes up, one of the things that sticks out to me, the difference is the power of taking the time off to reflect. What went wrong? Why was that we had created that bug? Why was it we have that issue? How can we prevent it? Not putting blame, but as a team, how do we stop that from happening again? Oh, developer A doesn't have the skill set, therefore, developers are not out there to create bugs. They're not there to create prompt managers for directors. They're not there. They want to create good quality code. So one of the things is, in my mind, is that we need to allow that to happen. So let them learn. Give them time to learn. Leave them time to reflect. Give them ability to do that. So the other thing that we like to do is we like to equate hours on keyboard, hours in the office as productivity. And we say, hey, we want you to spend 10 hours because we need this to go out the door quickly. And what happens is that when you're rushing a person through something, you're actually creating a flaw. We all know that if you rush, you create less quality stuff, right? I mean, if you rush through writing something, an email for example, and you don't think it through, the email isn't as good a quality as you put some thought into it. And that's just an email. Imagine now you're writing code for a system, right? And for an application. So that doesn't really work that well. Working long hours, the developers get tired. It's just like driving. It's just not a good idea to drive when you're tired. So there's a lot of those things that out there that remind us that we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the people that work for us. We don't want them to be tired. We've been to a restaurant where the waiters come up to you and he's just plain rude, or he's just not interested, and and you say, that's a bad waiter or waitress. If you're working that person that hard, then yeah, that person could be like that. Not everybody's going to be happy and preppy all the time. If he's working 10, 12 hours a day, that just doesn't work. So those are the things that's out there. Is question why we do certain things. questioned what value are we doing by measuring the number of bugs? And if there's a better way, what problem are we trying to solve? At the end of the day, what problem are we trying to solve? If you are trying to solve quality, that's not the way to go. I mean, as the director of technology operations for 4 years, that was my job. That was my role, to create reports, to create project updates. How many hours are spent? I will go into board meetings and say we are 80% spent. What does that mean? Oh, 80% of the time was spent. Oh, is it good, bad? I don't know. It's 80%. It's good. We spent 80%. We got 20% to go, and we'll be done. Yay! Not true, because we're measuring hours. It's not value. It's not features. Are we done with those features? No, it's not. It's not the same thing. Measuring costs. We have spent 50%. Oh no, that doesn't work, people. So my challenge to the folks out there, question yourself. Question the things that's out there. It's not just about agile. It's about doing the right thing. It's about measuring the right thing. Things that I talk about today has nothing to do with that. So that's my thing for this week, reflecting upon those things, how we can have those conversations. I get upset, or I have zero patience when I see those things happening. And sometimes it's hard, because sometimes we're up against, people who believe they know everything, because their title is a director. Therefore, they have control, and they're not going to listen. And I'm going to call you out. You're a bully. That's what it is. You're a bully. You're like Hitler. Right? You're pushing people. You're going around the wrong route. The right leadership is to ask questions. The right leadership is to trust your team. Let your team figure it out. If you allow your team to reflect, if you allow your team to increase and improve upon their skill, the return is more. Trust. You have to trust them. If they tell you it takes 6 weeks, 6 weeks it is. Don't cut it down. They are the one doing the work. Again, estimation is another portion. I'm not going to go into that today. So today it's all about measurements. About how do we measure things? What value are we measuring? We're measuring for outcome. Okay, we're not measuring for number of hours. We're not measuring those things. Number of bucks. I truly don't believe in those things. To me, there is no value. So that's my rant for this morning. Maybe it's because of the Milo. I don't know. And then that's it. Bye.